So hi everyone, this week on Freedom Advocacy we are going to check out what the Zambian elections can teach South Africa and find out about the racial indoctrination happening at South Africa schools. So stay tuned, this is going to be a good show. Hey everyone, welcome to Freedom Fanatics. This is a production of the Freedom Advocacy Network, and this show is every Tuesday at 6 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook. And each week we discuss the latest fan content with our authors and our creators right here. And my name is Sholan, and today I'm joined by usual Marius Sara, who is the writer at the South African Institute of Race Relations and an editor at the Daily Friend. And then we also have a first-time guest, Richard Agon, who is the head of strategic engagement at the Institute of Race Relations. Thank you guys for being on the show and for making the time. So first up, we will be discussing our latest article, which deals with the Zambian elections and what it can teach South Africa. So just for some context real quick, so recently in Zambia, we saw the opposition, United Party for National Development, win the recent election against an authoritarian liberation party who have essentially dominated Zambian politics for many, many years. So Marius, so considering the Zambian politics and our upcoming elections here in South Africa, why is it necessary to emphasize the point that race is only as important as you want it to be?
Well, I think Zambia is a good example of how people emphasize race when they don't actually need to. So Zambia, they had one of their deputy presidents between 2011 and 2014 was a guy called Guy Scott, and he was a white Zambian of Scottish heritage. He was born in Zambia and whatever, but his parents were from Scotland. And he was actually deputy president of the country between 2011 and 2014, and a guy called Michael Sata. Michael Sata died in 2014, at the end of 2014. So Guy Scott was actually the interim president of Zambia, meaning he was most probably the most, what's the word you want to call it, most high-profile white politician in sub-Saharan Africa, probably since F.W. de Klerk. So it's quite something. And he was actually, there was quite a lot of support for his candidacy to become to run in the election, the presidential election in 2015 for his party, which was called the Patriotic Front. But he decided not to in the end, and Edgar Lungu ended up becoming the candidate for the Patriotic Front. But at the time, there were quite a few people who pointed that Guy Scott himself said that Zambia is becoming what you'd call a post-racial country, and race isn't as important as people make it out to be. There's also a guy called Mark Chona, who spoke at the time when Guy Scott became a deputy president. And this guy, Chona, he was a former advisor to Zambia's first president, Kenneth Kaunda. He said it shows people are colorblind, and what they are looking at is performance, not color. And I think that's very important. People here in South Africa always saying, the DA shouldn't appoint white people to certain positions, or there's been quite a lot of brouhaha now about Jordan Hill Lewis being the candidate for the mayor of Cape Town and what have you. But people have shown that they are prepared to vote for, people vote for the interest. They don't vote for at skin color. If by some miracle tomorrow, the Jeremy Cronin or Barbara Creasy became the head of the ANC, I don't think suddenly the ANC's vote share would collapse. It still gets whatever it is, their 50% or whatever you. And same, we also saw with the DA, even when Mmusi Maimane became its leader, lost a bit of support in the 2019 election, but I don't think that's because Mmusi Maimane, because of his race. I think it was because of the trajectory of the party. And that said, in 2016, when Mmusi Maimane was leader of the DA, it had its best ever results in terms of proportion of the votes. It got nearly 27% of the votes in the 2016 local government elections when Mmusi Maimane was the leader. So I don't think you can point at race and say this is why people aren't voting for a certain party and what have you. I mean, of course, there will be certain. I mean, not many white people vote for a political party like the EFF. Not many black people vote for a political party like the Freedom Front Plus. But those parties are explicitly for the interests of one race or ethnic group or whatever the case is, EFF and Freedom Front Plus and whatever you. So I think they are exceptions, but I think in South Africa we have shown that race isn't this burning issue that people think it is, and I think Zambia was a good example of that, and we can definitely learn from them.
Yeah, absolutely, Marius. Sara, I'd like to come to you. So another thing Marius highlights is that no party endures forever. And in the run-up to South Africa's next election, do you think the ANC have a reason to fear for their position as the governing party?
I certainly hope they have reason to fear, because they have led us very, very badly, particularly in the last 10 or 12 years. They've essentially come close to bankrupting the country. They've given us an example of moral turpitude that just doesn't bear thinking about. They've robbed us blind. They want to tax us ever more to make up for the fact that they're not getting money. But they're starting to experience the sort of little things that affect them only that I think are the most problematic for them to take note of, and that is the fact that they themselves are running out of money. They can't employ, they can't pay their staff. They didn't get their lists together for the elections, insufficient numbers by the cutoff date, where other parties did. So there are 35 wards for which no lists are available, no lists exist, including Mangaung, essentially Bloemfontein. And in essence, there's nothing about what the ANC is doing and has done that warrants it succeeding in being in achieving any real electoral success in this election or the one to come. And I think Zambia perhaps should be a wake-up call for them, because Zambia has had its problems and it's had its problematic politicians, but it's showing that South Africa is not ahead of the curve anymore. Examples of genuine democracy and democratic elections are coming from elsewhere. And I think if the ANC doesn't pay heed to this, they'll probably reap the whirlwind of it.
Yeah, well, trust me, we all hope that they will actually reap what they sow and be kicked out of office. But yeah, thank you guys for your thoughts on that. And to our viewers, you can find all our written content on our website, freedomadvocacy.net. And now we'll be looking at our fan explainer video, which is titled Stop Racial Indoctrination in Schools. So yeah, we can have a quick watch.
Some schools in South Africa are pressuring students into accepting a worldview called critical race theory, CRT. According to CRT, the most important thing about you is your race, and that your prospects in life are determined by the color of your skin. It teaches us that white people are racists, and that black people can only succeed if white people let them. In short, the teachings of CRT state that you're either bad if you're white or weak if you're not white. Many schools have made CRT part of official school policy, hiring so-called experts to ensure that CRT ideas dominate what should be open learning environments. This is not surprising. Most universities in South Africa train teachers to accept a theory of education called critical pedagogy. This theory says that the role of a teacher is first and foremost to bring about radical social change. Teachers are being trained to become activists, to use schools as vehicles to spread harmful ideas like CRT. This is very different from the common sense idea that the role of a teacher is not only to impart knowledge, but to equip students to use reason and evidence to think for themselves. However, CRT activists consider reason and evidence as tools used to build up white people while breaking down everyone else. Therefore, if a student tries to question the ideas of CRT, they're accused of racism. Accept CRT or else. Not only is it immoral for a school to force a particular set of values on children behind their parents' backs, but these particular set of values divide students by race and teaches them that being offended is a mark of virtue. If South Africans don't stand together to stop this indoctrination will produce children who are fragile and unable to think for themselves, making them ill-equipped to become productive members of society.
Yes, so Sara, first up, many of our ideological opponents, to put it nicely, tend to dismiss campaigns on CRT and pointed out as fear-mongering. But considering South Africa's history, I think it's important that we call out race obsession the moment it appears.
Yeah, because essentially, and certainly the government's taken the lead in this in the last few years. It's used race and actually racism as a justification or as an excuse or as an explanation for things that are solely within its own domain. And the point is, particularly given our past and the fact that the white population is less than 10%, when you turn the tables and you know, we know how problematic it is to other a group of people, and the minute you other a group of people, you create separation and you create a failure to understand each other. And if you don't understand each other, then racism is likely to grow. And for a theory such as CRT to be imported from the United States, which in which it was developed and under very different circumstances, I think is just dangerous, and it serves the country badly. I mean, one needs to do as much as possible to reduce racism and increase the ability of people to get on and cooperate with one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Marius, do you have any final thoughts for us?
No, I think Sara and our colleagues have been covering this issue quite well, but I think it's definitely something to watch out for. And I think any ideology or theory, whatever, that separates people by race and says your most important characteristic is the color of your skin is dangerous, and it's definitely something to be pushed back against.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you guys for your insights on our most recent explainer video. And thank you guys for making the time once again. And we've reached the end of this episode now. So don't forget to catch us every Tuesday at 6 p.m. on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and even IGTV as well. So to join FAN, you can support our fight for freedom and sign up at freedomadvocacy.net. And remember that your freedom is worth fighting for.